And so, okay. And then I'll just put cards out in their trucks if I see something. I've gone as far as at a restaurant. I was meeting with IT. I was sitting at a restaurant and I saw a truck and it matched the jumpsuit where the guys were sitting. So I went and I just sat with them. Hey guys, how's it going? You know,
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Chicks in Charge. I'm Jess.
I'm Shasta.
And we are so excited to bring our guest to you today. She is the Fleet Service Director at Automotive, Miss Kendra Southern. Hello, Kendra.
Hello.
Thank you for being on the show today. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
We spent so much time talking offline that we finally had to be like, oh my God, we need to start recording this because
we had to force ourselves to
having
stop
such
talking.
good conversation. So you have a really exciting role. And so you are the Fleet Service Director. And if anybody listening is like me, I did not understand what that meant. And I made her break it down for me in kindergarten level so that I could understand exactly what she does. And I want her to tell you exactly what she does.
So my role is to go out and get more business. We're all in growth mode. So we need to, what does that look like? Well, that looks like we need to build service clientele. So fleet and commercial sales is you always have that on the sales side, but on the fixed op side, we need that service. So I go in and I meet with people, commercial vehicles. If I see them on the side of the road, I Google where their home office is and I go and get in there. And so if I can get in, I will close the deal. So
that's awesome. And you were talking about how sometimes you've had to sneak through doors that says do not enter. And
yes. Heaven forbid they leave a door open that says for deliveries and I'm in.
Yep. Listen. You should do that.
Rules were broken.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what your role is like and how long you have been in the automotive industry.
So I've been in the automotive industry since 1998. So not good in math. I'm girl math, maybe 27 years, I think, going on 28 years. Started out as a lube tech back in the Saturn days, hired on spot. In high school, I was oil change at Walmart. So you still have stock in Walmart from those days. That's fine.
That's good for you.
It is.
So I was hired on the spot, started changing oil. I loved it. Had a great relationship with everybody. I was there for 10 years and I still have those relationships with those people. I think all my dealerships that I've worked at, I've had lifelong relationships that turn out to be family, you know? So
you mentioned something when we were first talking about you working at Walmart that times were a lot different for women in the automotive industry back then. And they were kind of making you do some wacky stuff.
Yeah. So they put roller skates on me and made me hold a sign for oil changes. Nobody else got told to do that, but I was that one girl.
I was going to say, were you the only girl there?
Yes. I think in those times we didn't have. There weren't very many female technicians. Right. I think when I was at Saturn for the first year, I did not have a restroom. So I had to share a restroom with the men.
Gross.
Yes. It was, especially on Mondays, and they've been drinking all weekend.
Yes.
Oh no. Yeah. And then I think it was about a year into it, I got a lock. I asked for a lock. I got a lock on the door.
Nice.
But then I got pregnant and I was throwing up in between the cars. So I would go and throw up in the bathroom, have to wait my turn and see if there was anybody. And it was horrible. So then I started throwing up in the bathroom on the showroom floor and I was told I was too loud. So I was pushed back out.
No. Teach me how to throw up quieter.
I know.
Please try.
So tell us, how did you wind up deciding to go into the tech field?
My mother was a single mom and she had a bunch of brothers and they would laugh at her if she broke down. And she said, you need to not rely on any man. You need to be able to handle yourself. And so that's what kind of started it. And it's funny that she said, I told you to get into the role, not to turn into a man. So well, you created it, but you know, it is what it is. But I think, and I heard on one of your other podcasts, you know, when you're first starting out, it's different. Dealership is different. And I cried for the first year. Because I was not sweeping or mopping correctly at the end of the day. And I would have to do it again. And it wasn't my boss telling me, this was other technicians, you know? And so they're like, no, don't you know how to do this? And, you know, it was just very forceful. And I would cry every day, but I kept going back for a year. And then when I finally just got fed up and I said, you know what you can do with this mop? And I told him exactly to do with that mop. And he goes, finally, welcome to the team. And I said, are you kidding me this whole time? Yeah, you know, and you know,
just waiting for
That's
that
a hell of
to
a bit, right?
I know. And I'm still friends with him to this day.
Wow.
You know, he's referred technicians to me. He's retired now. And, you know, he was just a tech that thought he knew everything, still does. But, you know, he toughened me up, unfortunately. You know, we can't do that nowadays.
Right. HR. Right.
Exactly.
So how did you find Ken Garf Automotive?
So it was really cool. So I was working for a really bad dealership. One of those that, you know, do as I say, I don't care about your feelings, you know. My mom started getting sick and they're like, why do you have to take care of her? You know, why aren't you here? Well, isn't there anybody else? Well, if there was, you know, don't you think I would have done that? Yeah. So those kind where they would fire employees and rehire them and fire them, just a revolving door. And I knew the time to leave was when one of my customers, who was a lawyer, and leaned in and said, Kendra, are you okay? And I was like, you know what? If my customers can see that there's a problem here, it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
So one of my partners, he goes, hey, there's this really great place to work that I heard is really cool. And it's Ken Garf Automotive. And I was like, what? And back then we worked 1 week on, 1 week off, you know, like you got a whole week of off time back in the day. And he's like, their schedule's great. This is cool. And he's like, I'm going. And I said, okay. So he went to our Honda store and he's still there. So this was a few, 8 years ago, 8+ years ago. And I said, well, I'm gonna get in. Wait for me. I'm coming, you know, and there was no openings. So I found that, hey, we have, Big Star Ford. And I kept hounding the service director. And I would call, again, I'm a professional stalker. So I would call him all the time. Hey, are we ready? Hey, can you have me? Hey, can you have me? And then I ended up stalking him enough that they finally said, okay, we're good to go. Came in for the interview and everything. And what I found out, which makes Ken Garf Automotive to me unique, is that they're really community service. And so I do volunteer work, it's a community driven thing. And so when I met with one of the women here, we had the same friends in common and we're active in the community, and, the same, city council people, or the same, we all knew the same people. Right. And I was like, this is the perfect place for me. The things that I love, community active wise, and automotive. I mean, two of the best things merged together. So it was a no-brainer. And I'm so glad. I'm like, nobody else has had this, and then you see like people that are just starting in automotive and they're like, oh, well, lunch today is not good. I'm like, try not having a lunch and not being able to take a lunch.
Right.
And being told, sit there and shut up and do your job. Be thankful that they serve you lunch on Saturdays. Like, you don't know what that is. So coming to this dealership, it was just like my old Saturn days, because it was like family, and the same thing is with Ken Garf Automotive. And it's a amazing place. We have, so many employee incentives. We have driver of excellence, where if you're picked and you're voted, you get picked for that, basically employee of the month. And then at the end of the year, you we'll usually play like a game or, pop a balloon, and that has the right, you're the winner of it, and you get to go to Mexico, and they pay for a trip for you and a significant other to go to Mexico.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And it's just awesome, So I never saw that before.
It
And
sounds like they have a really awesome culture.
it's all about culture here.
Yeah,
it really is.
Amazing.
And that's what I'm good at.
We actually met you at the Women in Automotive event in Dallas, or Houston. Sorry, it was in Houston, that we put on just a couple of months ago. And that was really neat. Tell us a little bit about your experience there.
That was probably the coolest thing I've ever experienced as far as like-minded females in our industry. To be able, I left just going, wow, I feel my worth. I am worth something. And we all had the same stories. And I was just so excited when I left that, I called my HR, I called other people. I'm like, oh my God, this was the coolest thing. I was telling my friends all about it. I'm like, we don't have this. This is unheard of, and to feel worthy of something when you have leadership that, usually brings you down or is not growing you up. Part of us being leaders is to grow those under you. You're a leader for a reason.
Yep.
And then you take that leadership and, if you've been burned by another manager or you've been treated a certain way, you take that and you mold it into your goods and your bads and know the type of leader that you want to be. And you go forward and you grow your team that same way,
Sure.
And you got to have that compassion, that empathy, understand why I'm doing this, as a leader to grow the people under you. If I'm coaching you, it's because I want you to go be better and I see something in you, so don't be upset with me. Just know that I'm doing you a favor and this is where we're going to go to the next step.
For sure.
So, and just seeing all those women, it was just with years of experience like me. And it was just really awesome. It was great.
Cool. We definitely got the pleasure of being able to attend and get to meet everybody that was there too. And we get so much out of those events, just as much. It's awesome to see everybody coming together and just being one with the common ground that we all have in automotive.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, I think that CEOs, presidents, dealer principals, general managers get a lot of the attention and popularity for the hard work being put in by the people who don't have those titles. And these events, these socials help us find those people who are the ones doing that work. Like, just like you, the fleet service that you're doing is freaking awesome. And we were talking about it before the show. I've been doing this for over 10 years, almost 11 years, and I've never heard of a department that does that. And I think that's revolutionary. I think it's something that dealerships are missing the boat on 100% if they're not doing it. Not saying it doesn't exist out there anywhere else, but I didn't even know that was a thing until now. And so I'm more than sure that there's plenty of dealerships that are missing that boat. And had we not had this event, I would have never even known.
Yep. Well, and it's cool because what we have learned before we actually started recording this session is that Kendra Automotive is ahead of the curve in a lot of different ways when we talk about standing out within our industry. Not only is the fleet service department a huge deal, but they're also really investing in the women in their dealership as well. So I want you to tell us a little bit about how, I think you said her name was Kathy Garf, is really investing in women leadership in the group.
Yeah. So she has really just kind of led that pave way for us to be women in leadership and how can we grow the women. And we also are very about women empowerment. So every month we have a women empowerment like Zoom meeting, and we get to hear speakers of other women that are in not just this industry, but in other industries, whether you're playing basketball professionally or sportscaster, it's not just automotive, it's across the board in a male dominated world. And so, to be able to hear those things and be able to talk and we discuss it afterwards. And, Kathy Garf will come up and just like talk at the end and like, thank you for all you guys do. This is great. They're all about the women empowerment and women in the roles, because they're seeing that things have changed now. And finally, things have changed. Have they changed completely? Will they ever change? Probably not. But we finally have a voice. We finally have a voice to speak and not be afraid to speak, And so when you have that, it's just, there's nothing that can stop you, I guess you can say, when you have those women in leadership roles, and it's very, very interesting to see us all grow, and we grow within our company, again, with the right mentor and the right leader. And our mentor that I had, I think it was funny. I had a really bad leader, and they let him go. And then I got a new leader, and I had, he was like standing in his office, and he had this weird look on his face. He was like this. And I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "How are you so good at your role?" And I was the internal advisor / manager, kind of taking care of all the recon and everything on the fixed op side. And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You have the best numbers, in our Texas region." I'm like, "Oh." And he's like, "How are you good at it?" I said, "I didn't know I was. Nobody had told me anything. Nobody said good job. Nobody said I was doing what I was supposed to be doing until I met him." And whenever we started growing and just building off of that, I would just say, "Okay, am I doing good?" He's like, "Well, yeah." And I'm like, "Well, I was just thrown in the role like a lot of plays." I hate to say it, but in automotive, we're just kind of thrown with not
very plug and play. Right.
Yeah. And I'm very good with processes, very good with procedures. So I saw a need. That's what I did. That's how I grew the department. Same thing at Buick GMC when I was service director there. I saw a culture that was broken by bad leadership. And so they told me when I first interviewed, because my mentor, his name's Jeff, he says, "How far is Baytown from your house?" And I said, "About 30 minutes. And he says, "Well, I think it's time for you to have a seat at the table." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, just let's start." And so I went and I had the interview. I was so nervous because it was with the VP of the region. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And after I left, and I don't interview well. I am the worst interview person. Like, it is horrible. But I went in and I knew my passion and I knew what I wanted to do. And I just got excited. And when I get excited, that's where everything shows. And he called me after I left. And he goes, "I think you messed up." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "They really liked you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And so the first thing they said is, "Fix the culture. Numbers will come later. Fix the culture." And so I just went in there and I fixed the culture. And again, those are connections. I mean, I spent Thanksgiving with one of the advisors that was my employee and her grandma, and then we had a Friendsgiving with my people from Honda from 9 years ago. I only worked there for 1 year and we all have PTSD, and so we thrive off of that. So building the culture, growing with the leadership that you have. And then when this role came, they saw how excited I was about getting more fleet for my store when I was at Buick. And he said, "I think this is a great opportunity. I think this is the role you're born for. You are very good with people. You know how to network. You know how to talk." And so he said, "Let's do this." And so we did it because that was his vision. And a week later, he passed away.
Oh,
Heart attack. So I mean, my pay plan wasn't done. Nothing was done. We hadn't seen this in our Texas region, but to have somebody mentor you and grow you like that, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it because this was his vision. I'm going to kill it because any role that I'm given, I can do it. I can do it because there's no stopping. You take that path, whatever path leads you, and then you just kill it. That's all you can do. And you can prove anybody that ever doubted you wrong. By being the best that you can be. And that's just the bottom line. You go out there and you do what needs to happen.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I bet he would be so proud.
Oh, so proud.
I know. I when I first got my first account, I keep a picture, from the funeral. I keep a picture and I could hear him say, "Good job. Now go get more." You know what I mean? So I always hear him in my head, and he was very vital at the store because, he was our direct supervisor, and he had been GM. He hated being a general manager. He just did not like the sales part of it or anything. This is what he was good at. He was like this guru, and just saw something in people. Just saw it, and just like, I would have never known that I was good at what I was doing.
Yeah.
And the service director that we have now, he grew her as well. It's just, when you have a great leader or a mentor, that's key.
Mhm.
I would say I've only had two great mentors, Jeff, and then my service manager from Saturn. And I mean, he's like my dad, and I still go and visit, and they're like family. And so, because I don't have a dad, I took on him, whether he liked it or not. So, and those are the two greatest mentors. And, I'm forever grateful, but I also have those that were very bad, very
Yeah.
bad. And that's a different type of mentorship to mold into something different.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know sometimes which ones are the good ones, which ones are the bad ones, and who to listen to until
Yes.
you're on the other side of it and you look back and you're like, wow.
Yes.
That was
Yep.
bad.
Yes. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
So how long have you been the fleet service director?
Since September.
Okay. And how
Yeah.
much do you think that you have grown the service department since then?
I would say probably about 20%, 30%.
Wow.
That's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
What would you say to a dealership that is listening to this right now that might be considering building this out? Just after you talk about it.
I would say if somebody wants to do something like this, you got to find the right person.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to find the right person to start. You have to have somebody that's determined, good with people, network, and just driven. Because a lot of the times I'm out on the road. I'm just out on the road. You have to have somebody that's self-driven. But I would definitely say it's definitely worth it. I've just left my card on a table and I get a call back, and some of them don't call or show up until 3 months later when they need you. That's what's hard in the fixed ops role,
But if
They
you
may not need you.
leave them with that positive impression, there's no doubt that they're going to call you whenever they need
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And you just connect with whoever. It's got to be somebody that can connect with people. I mean, you have a lot of salespeople that can connect, and, fixed ops people that can connect, but you got to find that person that can be that chameleon,
Right.
that can go from one extreme to another, And so, and there's a lot of people out there, but I would definitely say it's really great for the company, and it's definitely going to show growth. It has shown growth, and just to maintain that, I would like it so where I'm not chasing them, they're chasing me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hey, I heard that, my neighbor is doing services with, their commercial fleet. Hey, you were the guy to call, that's what my goal is. And I know I will get there, but it's still a new role for, our Texas stores. So,
Right.
Well, and I want to hit on the fact that you are with a Ford store, and Ford has something that
Yes.
most or any other manufacturers don't have, which is the mobile service van.
yes.
And that's something that has been asked of by Ford for all Ford stores. I know that because we even have it here in Joplin,
Yep.
Missouri.
And we didn't even know that it existed
until we were
went to
at
our
that
Ford store a couple weeks ago and we were told about it. And we
Yeah.
were like, whoa.
It wasn't advertised at all.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never heard anything about it. And I think based on the conversation we had before, that's something that's also helping that service fleet
Yes.
because you're able to use the mobile service van for fleet customers.
Yes. Yes. So we have, when I'm out there, I let them know, hey, we can do your maintenance on site while your workers are inside, or even on a Saturday. So we have some pull companies that their vehicles are being used during the week and they have off on a Saturday or whatever. You can line them up. Same thing. So with the mobile service, it is just so easy. And a lot of people are going to mobile service. I saw a Discount Tire, out there. But with Ford, it's a big initiative for the mobile service, and we can do all makes, of course, within reason, Mercedes.
They're definitely ahead of the game with that one.
Yes. And they do a pickup and delivery as well. So pick up cars at people's houses, bring them in, get them serviced, and take them back. And so we offer those, and Ford is definitely ahead of the game on that. And I do agree, it's not marketed enough. So that's what you have for me. I'm like your walking postcard, I guess you could say, so I'm out there marketing the mobile service. I'm marketing for our fleet and commercial, and customers. And if I can't get in the door, somehow I would have left my mark. So I'll leave a postcard in their mailbox, or, go around to somebody working in the shop, leave it in the doors a lot of times. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of my thing that I do. And I sit at Home Depot in the morning and wait for the contractors to come in.
Okay.
And then I see what's out there. And then if they're in my area, I'll go see their home office. I'll Google them.
So creative, right?
Yeah. So, or if I say I try not to get caught, like putting something in somebody's window,
right.
If they're not in my area, I'm still, with us, it's worth, if they're 30 miles away, it takes 30 minutes to get there, or 25 minutes or whatever, it's still worth it because the van can go out to them and knock out multiple cars.
Yeah. Right.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be really close to us. As long as there's multiple. So it's about the quantity as well, to get that out. So I definitely I just stalk people. If they're at lunch, like a lot of the plant workers, I can't get into plants. Okay.
Yeah, it's
on lockdown. There's just nothing. So I know where they eat. So I stalk their trucks outside. And so, okay. And then I'll just put cards out in their trucks if I see something. I've gone as far as at a restaurant. I was meeting with IT. I was sitting at a restaurant and I saw a truck and it matched the jumpsuit where the guys were sitting. So I went and I just sat with them. Hey guys, how's it going?
Did you land that account?
Yes, actually, because they were mad because they were using another dealership.
Oh,
yeah. I'm like, hey, this is who I am. Where are y'all using? And they were using another dealership. I'm not going to mention. And so they're like, man, they just suck. They take too long. I said, well, and this was when I was the service director.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I'm a service director at this store. Come on in.
That's
so
awesome.
I've had opportunities like that. And then sometimes if you're just the crazy lady, they remember you.
Oh yeah.
I've walked in on meetings, and I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? And whoever's made eye contact, guess what? I'm talking to you.
I hope your boss realizes how lucky they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you are one of a kind. I don't know many people, let alone women, who have the confidence to just go and accept whether that's rejection or even, making new friendships like that and new relationships in a client and relationship. I mean, that's just, I don't know many people who can just do that. That's such a natural skill that cannot necessarily be acquired.
Right. Again, a professional stalker.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. And I have a really good time, doing it. And then, of course, you have to do the follow-up, okay, I saw you. Okay, now I'm going to email you or I'm going to call you. So you still have to do the follow-up. You still have to do anything that you would have to do sales-wise. I'm not a salesperson, nor would I ever be a salesperson, but I know common sense, like, okay, I've done X, Y, and Z. See what's going on. What can I do for them?
Right.
And if they don't want to, they don't want to. But you know what? I'm gonna check with you again. So don't hide from me. Yeah, So it's just as long as you make an impression wherever you go. I'll give you another example. I went to an engineering firm downtown, and it was fancy. Outside didn't look. It was like the retro new things that they're doing, where it's all fancy outside, and the outside. Outside is ugh. So I walk in and it was a bunch of men standing there and they looked very like intense, like mad. And I was like, oh, hey guys, is this the meeting of the minds? And one guy he just grunted. And I said, or you can growl at me, but this is who I am. And here's the card, and there you go. And I backed away slowly. But you know what? They remember the crazy lady that called him out on his grunting. So, oh, you remember, hey, our cars needed that. Remember that girl that came? That's what you're going to get.
Yep.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
It's
That's
working.
awesome.
Yeah, I think this I'm more than sure you're gonna have people reaching out to you
Oh,
after
yeah.
this, because this is something that is definitely needed in more stores. You know, if I were a
And I
Ford store,
suspect that a lot of stores aren't even going to know where to start.
yeah, if I were a
started.
Ford store, I would be calling Kendra right now.
Absolutely.
100%. If I don't have this already, or have it on lock, or have it bringing in 20 to 30% of my
Absolutely.
fixed ops revenue, I would be calling Kendra right now.
And not that I'm trying to get you to leave Ken Garf by any means, but this might be something that you consider doing and building down the road for other dealerships.
Yeah, I've been told that.
This is really cool.
Yeah. I enjoy it. It's just fun meeting people, and just, it's like a challenge. You know, I've like went over fences and stuff before, you know. I mean, one of my controllers said, do we need to put bail money on the side for you? We get
Wouldn't hurt.
It really wouldn't hurt.
Wouldn't hurt. It's either that or a bonus. You decide.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
No, I can think of 2 stores off the top of my head right now who have been looking to increase their fleet, but they're focusing on the sales side. And I mean, I know that if they start looking at increasing on the service side too, I mean, more revenue is more revenue.
Well, I've been asked when I'm out there about the sales side of it. So I'm not familiar with the sales side. So all I do is respond and go, I can email you information. So if there's a fleet customer that is interested in buying new, usually I'll get an invoice and send it to them. So that with this fleet service, you're going to increase in your parts revenue, you're going to increase in your sales revenue, and you're going to increase in your fixed ops.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't see that very often. Service can build that revenue, you know, and maintain those customers. Yeah, you have your sales customers that come in, and you have some of your regulars, but service is that one that keeps going. It's building that revenue. And so I've been asked about those before. So it can only benefit all, you know, and get the dealership more involved in the community and outside. I mean, it's other industries have outside sales reps. You have pharmaceutical reps, you have, you know, those kind of reps, outside sales reps. Why would this be any different?
Right. Well, and on the customer side of this, you are building such a relationship with these business owners because they want to do business with the people who take care of their baby. Their baby is their business. And if they don't have vehicles to conduct their business, they're screwed. So not only are you going to continue to get that fleet business, those business owners are going to come buy their next vehicle from you. They're going to start bringing their personal vehicles there. They're going to tell their family about it, their friends about it. Their employees are going to start coming there. And then it's chain reaction from that point, domino effect of all these people that you've just built these solid relationships with and shown your guys' value to. And as a customer, my husband was telling me he went and took our vehicle to get its oil changed 2 days ago. And a dealership that is the only dealership I've purchased from in pretty much 10 years, we're almost at the point of where their service department has treated us so badly, we're about to start doing business elsewhere. And that's rough. That's rough. You've spent that long with the dealership and they stop caring that much. To know that you're valued as a customer and to know that someone actually remembers your name, remembers your business is huge.
Yeah. And that's what I get. Some of the feedback was, we like to have a point of contact for that one person. The customer knows I'm fighting for them, and the dealership knows that I'm like fighting for them. Both sides. I see both sides. If the customer's wrong, you know, we'll handle that. But it's for both sides. And I know I had one customer, I couldn't understand. I was like, why is this car taking so long to get out? And I would call a dealership and they're like, okay, well, we're checking on it. We'll call you back. And my fleet guy was bringing another truck in. And so I was so mad. I drove from one side of town to the other to get to the other store. And I showed up and my fleet customer was like, uh-oh, they're going to be in trouble. You know, so he knew I was fighting for him, you know, and that was a big deal because, the store was wrong. They should have not taken this long or communicated better.
Yeah, you know? Communication solves everything.
Yeah, they want to feel like they have an advocate. And a lot of times it feels like everybody you talk to at the dealership is just in CYA mode and not willing to be human with you or realize that you have real emotions, real fear about what's going on with your vehicle, and you just want answers.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's where I come in.
This is genius. I love everything about this. I want to scream this from the rooftops of every dealership that exists. Like, start your fleet service immediately if you don't have it.
Yeah.
You're an idiot for not starting it yet. Sorry.
Every time I go out, I see something new. There's so many commercials, so many fleet out there. There's always something new. Every time I drive out there, I'm like, oh, that's new. Oh, that's new. You know, I even have, old employees that are knowing that I'm doing this, screenshotting and sending me, wow. Friends going, is this what you do? And send me a picture, So yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. When you have a team of people that care that you've known for years and been in automotive for years, they just hang with you.
Yep. Yeah. I love everything about this.
So if you had to give one piece of advice to a young person walking into the doors of a dealership for the first time, what would it be?
I thought about this for a while too. Be seen. Be seen. Know that there's potential out there, and to be seen. If you're just in the background, it's not going to work. If you're just doing your job, it's not going to work. You need to excel and you need to be seen. And that's men, women, anybody coming into the role. Be seen.
Love that. Kendra, how can people reach out to you if they have any questions or need some guidance on starting their own fleet service department?
I have my phone number. If y'all want my phone number.
If you're willing to put it out there, go for it.
Yeah. Are you ready? You can call my cell. It's 832-398-6455. Yeah. Text would probably be easier because I'm not going to answer some strange.
Yeah, that'll be in the show notes as well. We'll put everything in there.
And then, that's it.
All right. Well, Kendra, thank you so much for your time today. We really do appreciate you hopping on with us and having this conversation that I feel like we could have talked all day if we had the ability to. But without further ado, whenever you go out into the world this week, remember to be kind because you never know what battles others are facing. So when you go out into the world this week, remember to light it up. I'm Jess.
I'm Shasta.
And that's Kendra. And we've been the Chicks in Charge. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yay, you've made it this far. And if you want to help the chicks out and add some value, make sure you subscribe right now.
Click that little red button down below. Do it. Do it now.